Hey, and welcome back to my channel. It's Ashley here, and if you are new, hey girl, hey. Okay, so in this video today, the main objective is taking this old drawer and turning it into a planter box. So this drawer came from a chest of drawer that I repurposed into something totally different. I am not sure if I will have that video out before now, but if I do, I'll have it linked up here in the comments, but if not, that video is coming out. But anyways, so I'm taking this drawer, turning it into a planter box, and let's hope this goes well. Let's get started. So to get started, the first thing I did was take some crud cutters, and I'm just going to wipe this down because there was dust and spider webs and all that stuff. So I wiped this down, and then after that I removed the drawer track on the back because I will not be needing that. Before I move on, I just want to talk about the plan. I love to sketch things out first so I can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to have my drawer that's going to house my herbs on the top. Then I'm going to take some 2x2s. I'm going to add those to the bottom. And I'm also going to add some 2x2s to the base so that it'd be nice and sturdy. And then on my sides, I am going to add 1x3s and kind of space them out to give this a little bit more character. So this was the original plan. Of course, it's going to change along the way, but I like to just sketch on my iPad so that I can take my ideas that I have in my head and visually see it before I actually start doing it. So with that being said, I'm gonna start to work on my sides. So I used the 1x3s because the side was the same thickness as the 1x3s, so it was gonna fit perfectly. So what I did was I just pushed it up against the side of the drawer, and then I marked off where I'm gonna need to cut this onto my miter saw, and then I started to cut down my pieces that I need. So one piece was good enough to cut 3 pieces that I needed for the sides. So as you can see, they fit perfectly onto the sides, and now I'm going to start to work on the back. So the back is going to be the same thing. I'm just going to mark where I need to cut it. Then I'm going to start to cut the pieces on my miter saw so that everything can kind of come together. Next, I took these metal sheets. So these are just scrap pieces that I had left over, and I'm going to add these to the sides of the drawer too. So I'm a girl that loves detail, and I knew that this will look so good underneath the wood. So the first thing I did was I'm going to, of course, use these old tin snips that I need to get some new ones, but I'm going to add the aluminum sheet to the side, and then I'm going to kind of just press it down so that I can know where I need to cut the excess off, and then I'm going to cut that off with my tin snips. So I did that for my sides, and I also did that for my back piece too. And when you're cutting tin snips, you probably, of course, I always say want to have some heavy duty gloves on, and then it's really easy when you start to bend it upwards because it just makes cutting it so much easier. So it was perfect, these different scrap pieces that I had, because they fit and I didn't have to get another sheet, and these were just ready to be added to the back after I was done cutting. So after that, I'm going to come in with my favorite spray paint. You guys already know it is the Heirloom White, and it's satin. So I'm just going to spray that on the sides of my drawer, the back of my drawer, and that was it. So I let this dry, and after that dried, it was time to start on the wood that would be attached to the sides. So for the wood, of course, I sanded it down, started rounding out my edges, and then I started to attach the back using my nail gun. Then I realized that I needed to work on the front before I actually started to do everything else. So I'm just going to take some putty, and I'm going to putty up these holes because I'm not going to need these. I'm not going to be using this as a drawer. So I'm just filling those in, and then I'm going to let them dry. Then I came back with my sander, and I sanded that smooth. Next, I came in with my shellac base primer, and I'm going to add that to where the wood knots are so there won't be any bleed through or tanning. And then after that, I added the same color spray paint to the front of this. After the front dried, I started adding the wood again. So I placed the aluminum sheet on first, then I added the wood on top, and then I took my nail gun and I just nailed the sides to the front and the back of my drawer. So I'm pretty sure there's probably an easier way to kind of put the legs on here, but I just added it on a different piece, marked off where I needed to cut it, then I cut it on my miter saw, and I brought it over here and I drilled holes, and then I added wood screws to the top of this so that I'll have it kind of standing up a little bit, but it's not going to be as sturdy as it would be until I started to work on the base of this and the middle portion. So in all actuality, I would have done pocket holes to the top of this too, but the wood for the bottom of this is so thin that that wouldn't have really worked out too well. So I just did pocket holes for the bottom. So I cut out the wood that I needed for the bottom, and I just added the screws to the front and to the back, and I did it on both sides. And then I also came in and I cut down a piece for a middle section that I just decided on, because you guys know the sketch earlier, I did not have that little middle portion, but I'm glad I added it. And I added those too as well, with some pocket holes to make sure this was nice and secure. So I did that to the back and also the front. Okay, so quick little update. So this planter box is looking so good. So right now I am now planking the bottom. So I'll have like a cute little shelf that I can like add either flowers or other things that I need for the herbs that I'll put inside. So I'm super excited. Hopefully I don't have to cut like any small cuts and stuff like that, that it just fit all in there, because I really don't want to do that. But I'm loving how this looks, and I just cannot wait to be finished. So after I was done cutting the wood, the next thing I did was I stained these pieces that same golden oak color. And then I decided, so I was gonna do the legs, I kept this in here. I was gonna do the legs and I was gonna stain the bottom portion and spray paint the top. So that's what I started to do, and then I was like, ew, I don't think I'm gonna like this. So I ended up having to sand down all of the spray paint areas that I did spray paint, and then I ended up just staining it. So one thing I do want to say is, when you do something like that, or you're just taking off the paint, if you do stain over it, you will be able to see where the paint areas still are. So sometimes you just have to come in and sand that down. So that's what I did. And then once I sanded those areas away, I came back in with my stain, and it stained over the wood as normal. After that, I began to attach the boards to my middle piece. So I'm just taking my nail gun and I'm nailing this to that area. After that, I started to take these little pieces of wood. So I got them from Michael's. I don't remember the size, but if I find it out, I will definitely have this in the description. So I wanted to add these to the front, so I cut them down to the sizes that I needed, and then I attached them using my wood glue and also my nail gun. Again, I just added this because I thought this would be so cute, and again, I love to add details to any and everywhere that I can to make something look fire. After that, I'm just going to take this spar urethane, and it's going to help with UV protection, mold and mildew, and all of this stuff, since this wood is going to be outside. So I sprayed this generously around the whole planter box. Next, I drilled some little tiny holes into the bottom, so when I water my herbs and stuff like that, it'll have a way to kind of drain out the water. The next thing I started to do was just start to add everything in. So I took some garden soil and I started to add it into the inside of this, filling it up. I didn't want to fill it up all the way, although I could have. I just filled it up just a little bit. And then I started to add those herbs. So I got like rosemary, parsley, oregano, I got some peppers, and I just added all of those in here. And then the next thing I'm probably going to do is make some cute little labels to label them, but for now I just kept the like original labels on there. Well, I just attached them, not attached them, I just stuck them into the soil so I can know what was what. And then after that, I started to add just some little things to the bottom. So I added another little herb down there in this little DIY that I did. If you haven't seen that video, I redid this little flower pot. I'll have it up here in the cards. Then I also added like some gardening tools and stuff that I would use in this cute little thrifted glass that I found at Goodwill. And that's it. That's all I did to create this planter box. I love how this turned out. So it is reversible, which is amazing. I didn't even plan for it to be reversible. It just happened. So you can have it facing front like this, where your drawer front is front, or you can flip this around and you can have all of the wood showing, which is awesome. Another thing is, if you do this and you want to have a nice clean look, you want to use the pocket hole plugs that you can get to plug in your holes. And another thing, this is a drawer, so you want to make sure that this is in a space that's enclosed, so not a lot of rain hits this, because the drawer will expand. But other than that, I love how this turned out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video too. If you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If this inspired you, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Make sure you comment down below to let me know what you think. If you aren't subscribed to my channel, make sure you click on that subscribe button and you hit that notification bell so you'll always be up to date with my latest tutorials, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!